Thank you very much for visiting the Saifukuji Temple today. I hope you will enjoy the magnificent world of sculptures carved by Ishikawa Uncho, who was a famous sculptor at the end of the Edo period, 1600 to 1867. It is reported that once he placed a chisel in his hand, he turned into a genius in the art of sculpting and devoted himself to the world of sculpture. He was renowned as a master craftsman in the Edo period. Since Uncho showed a great talent not only for wood carving but also for stone carving and painting, he is often acclaimed as the Michealangelo of the Echigo province. Please enjoy the world of Buddha vividly engraved here at this temple by Ishikawa Uncho, the master of sculptors. Look at the Uonuma city, rich in nature and surrounded by the river Uonuma and the three mountains of the Echigo province. In the mountains stands the Saifukuji Temple, which is a famous temple belonging to the Soto sect of Buddhism. The temple was founded in 1534 by the great Buddhist priest named Hoshitsu Soshun. You can see in this temple a lot of excellent sculptures carved by Uncho. The main building of the Saifukuji Temple was rebuilt in 1802 by the 18th priest named Zenno-jisan the Great. The name of the head carpenter, Oguro Shichizaemon, from the town called Izumozaki. The hall named Kaizando, which stands on the left of the main building, is dedicated to the founder of the temple. It was built in 1857 by a great priest named Ban Okudairu, the 23rd. Inside the main building and the place called Kohai, the place where people offer their prayers, you can see a lot of great sculptures, paintings, and plastered works produced by Uncho. Many of his works of art you see in this temple are based on the stories told by the Zen priest named Dogen, the founder of the Soto sect of Buddhism. You can enjoy these stories depicted in the sculptures. The sculptures displayed in this temple are no less splendid than those you see at the Toshogu shrine in Nikko. Therefore, this temple came to be known as the Nikko of the Echigo province.
Please look at the two images of Buddha in front. One is the Reverend Hoshitsu Soshun the Great, who is the founder of this temple, and the other is the Reverend Dogen, who propagated to Japan the teachings of the Soto sect Buddhism. All the sculptures and paintings you see in front are the works done by Uncho at the end of the Edo period. These are all designated as important cultural properties of Niigata Prefecture. Now, please look up at the sculpture on the ceiling. The size of the ceiling is about 1.8 meters square, and this is the largest of Uncho's work. He used the technique called tsukashibori, fretwork, to produce this fine, clear-cut, and powerful work of art. The title of this sculpture is The Reverend Dogen Chastises a Tiger. This refers to what happened to him when he was practicing religious austerities in China. The story goes like this. During his pilgrimage to Mount Tendo, a tiger appeared and was going to attack him. He quickly threw a stick he had in his hand at the tiger and sat quietly again on the rock to continue his zazen or meditation. In an instant, the stick turned into a dragon and drove away the tiger. Look at the calm and philosophically enlightened expressions on the face of the Reverend Dogen and the powerful figure of the Reverend Yuten facing up to the fearful tiger. The tiger is just going to run away with its tail between its legs. The eyes of the dragon and the tiger confronting each other are made of the Guiamang glass, which is very precious in those days. The eyes of the tiger and the dragon glaring at each other are glittering as if they were really alive. The bright colors used here have not faded at all since the last days of the Tokugawa shogunate when the sculptures were completed, because of the paint was made from rocks. In the tense atmosphere of this scene, you can find some cute small animals which seem to have been born from the playful mind of Uncho himself. Please look at them. You can see a tortoise on the rock at the foot of the tiger, and a carp in the waterfall near the head of the tortoise. In the center of the sculpture, you can see some sparrows and the dark clouds which are exhaled by the dragon. And on the upper right, there is an eagle on one branch of the pine tree. The eyes of the eagle are also made of Guiamang glass, and its wings are carved in a beautiful fretwork technique. Lastly, the animal on the upper left, peeping out from the bushes, is a monkey. There are some other small animals engraved here. Can you see them? Now, please look at the three transoms in front. They are carved in the fretwork technique. You will notice that the beautiful and delicate grains and textures of the wood are fully made use of. The sculpture in the center refers to the Reverend Dogen. He finished his religious austerities in China and found a very unique and sacred sutra called Hekiganroku on the night before his return to Japan. The sutra was so special and sacred that he wanted to copy it. You can see him busily copying the sutra. This is the scene depicting the god named Hakusan, who disguised himself as an old man to help Dogen copy the sutra. In the next sculpture, Uncho used the perspective method so that the items in the room look cubic and three-dimensional. Look at this sculpture. You can see engraved on its side a candlestick in front of a desk and a kettle over a brazier. In the alcove, you can see an ornament with both a figure named Hote-sama and a red incense burner engraved on its side. The carving on the transom you see on your right is based on some religious stories concerning the Eiheiji Temple. You can see on your lower right a samurai warrior wearing a sword on his side. He is the Lord Hatano Yoshishige, who is the founder of the Eiheiji Temple. One day, there occurred an incident that one of the maids waiting on him was killed by someone and was thrown into the pond. The poor girl's soul was not able to rest in peace. She turned into a ghost and appeared on the bank night after night. The Reverend Dogen, who was asked by the Lord for advice, held a funeral for her courteously on the bank of the pond. Then the ghost joined her palms together, relieved that she was able to rest in peace, and ceased to appear again. Next, look at the transom window on your left. You can see the scene in which the Reverend Dogen is traveling in the mountains for religious austerities. During the travel, he suffered from a severe stomachache, when the god Inari appeared from inside the forest and gave him some medicine. The man in the center is Mr. Kinoshita Dosho, an attendant to Dogen. He was one of the predecessors who studied Chinese herbal medicine in China and taught Chinese medicine to Japanese people. Now, this time, turn around and look at the carvings above the staircase. It is very difficult to carve on both sides of one board, and special technique are required to do so. Why? Because it sometimes happens that the front side of the board or plank begins to show through or chip off while carving the opposite side, and vice versa. The fact that Uncho succeeded in carving such a large sculpture on each side of this large Zelkova board shows how splendid his skill was. This scene tells how the Reverend Dogen and other people on the ship sailed into a terrible storm on their way back to Japan. The people on the ship were on the verge of death, clinging for their lives. When it seemed that the ship was going to sink at any minute, the Reverend Dogen began to recite the Kannon Sutra fervently. And then, from the heaven Kannon, the goddess of mercy appeared on board a lotus leaf and appeased the storm. This is a famous story about the Reverend Dogen and the Ichio Kannon, or the Kannon on a lotus leaf. Here is also engraved a wooden statue of a dragon, which is a guardian god of the Reverend Dogen. The dragon, with its wings, is driving away the god of thunder that causes the storm. The humorous scene of the god of thunder running away is of Uncho's style. Lastly, please look at the works of plaster just above the two-sided sculptures. You can see some sculptures. They are, from left to right, sculptures of the Lord Sugawara Michizane, the god of thunder, Fujiwara Tokihira, Oo Sekiko riding on a crane, and a sculpture named a horse coming out of a gourd, Kanzan Jittoku, and Musume Dojoji. Uncho was also excellent in using a trowel. All the works you saw just now were made by Uncho for the period of 6 years. He began his work at the age of about 39. It was the priest named Ban-oku Dairyu, the 23rd, who decided to build this temple, laid out the plan, and asked Uncho to sculpt and paint all the necessary items for this temple. The Reverend Dairyu, who was younger than Uncho, was in his 30s when he thought of building the hall Kaizando and had it completed. Both the passion of the young priest Dairyu, who respected and adored the Zen priest Dogen, and the skill of the workman Uncho, who tried to improve his skill further, have been combined to complete the great work of building the Kaizando. Thank you very much for visiting this temple. The temple resulted from the wonderful encounter and cooperation between the great priest Dairyu and the skillful sculptor Uncho. I hope you too will be able to have a similar kind of experience in the future.
Ishikawa Uncho, 1814 to 1883. Uncho, whose real name was Yasube, was born in Zoshigaya in Edo, now Tokyo, in 1814. It is reported that he mastered the secrets of the Ishikawa school of the Edo sculptures at about age 20 and was allowed by the government to use a surname and carry a sword with him because of his remarkable contribution in sculpture. At about age 32, he came to the Echigo province. Later, he was asked by Uchiyama Matozo, a manager of the temple named Honjoji in Sanjo City, to engrave various kinds of sculptures for the temple. At just about the same time, Dairyu, the reverend priest of the Saifukuji Temple, also heard of the sculptor named Uncho and invited him to the Uonuma province, where his temple was located. Uncho was 39 years old at the time. As for the Kaizando, its cornerstone was laid in 1852 and the temple was completed in 1857, which means that Uncho had only about 5.5 years to complete all the sculptures, paintings, plastered items, and other necessary artwork for the temple. As for his private life, he became the father of 2 children, a son and a daughter. These few years must have been his golden age. After the completion of the Kaizando Hall, he received a lot of requests from various quarters to work for them and came to be known widely as the skillful master of the Echigo province. After the Kaizando Hall was completed, he began to work on the sculptures of the temple gates called the White Gate and the Red Gate, a stone statue named Hioke Jizo, Fire Prevention Jizo, and some fusumae, pictures on the papered and sliding doors of the main building of the temple. Look at the corridor and pillars carefully, and you will find various kinds of embedded pieces of wood. From the implanted pieces of wood covering the small holes and joints of the boards, you can tell how much Uncho enjoyed filling these holes, joints, and knots. Uncho had a great talent for paintings too. In the main building of the Saifukuji Temple, you can see some of the pictures that Uncho painted on the fusuma, or the papered sliding doors. This is one of them. It is entitled "Peacocks Playing and Enjoying Themselves." The pictures were painted when Uncho was about 48 years old. Because Uncho used paints made from rocks, his pictures have still maintained their original colors for 150 years. This picture tells us the teachings of Buddha. Set a goal for yourself, get over your difficulties, throw away your avarice, and devote yourself to your goal. Inside this temple, you can feel as if Uncho Ishikawa, the skillful craftsman in the Edo period, was still breathing. This temple has still been giving spiritual comfort and relief to those who ask for Buddha's teachings.
お寺というのは結局六根を清浄するため、清らかにするためにある道場ですんだね。道場に来て心が揺れたり、嫌な匂いを嗅いだり、嫌なものを味わったり、嫌なものに触れたり、そういうことがあってはならないところですから、そういう六根が全て清らかになるような心を持って帰ってもらうというのがお寺の基本ですよね。曹洞宗の教えは止観多座、ただ座って悟りを近づく、悟りに近づく、あるいは悟りを得る、ただ座るということが大事なんですよね。止観多座というのはただ座禅を打つことに一生懸命になるという中身ですね。道元様の教えも止観多座、ただ座る、悟りを得られないにしてもただ座るというのが禅宗曹洞宗の基本ですよね。本来人間が持っているところの仏性、執着なき心ですね、とらわれない、いつまでも追っかけない、今だけを生きる、 そういう心になることができる。それが仏様の心ですね。仏心。まだとにかく座る行ですね。行うこと、これが基本ですね。考えるより前に動け。動くということは座るということなんですね。動がそのまま行なんですよね。行であり静であり静かなっていう静ですよね。言に美絶心意、これを一つ清浄に清らかに保って、ものを拝み見る心を持って、それが拝観と書いてますんでね、拝み見る心を持ってご拝観くださいということですね。
The nature surrounding the Saifukuji Temple reminds us of the rich natural environment which Ishikawa Uncho must have loved in his days. We can feel the warmth of the earth, murmurings of the rivers and streams, and the sense of the nature that Uncho must have experienced in his days. Also, this area is dotted with hot springs, which visitors find comfortable. Bearing Uncho in mind, why not take a walk around this area called Uonuma, Uncho's birthplace?